Hello everyone and welcome to Box Office Receipts. I'm your host Tyler Callahan and we got some news to talk about. We have another box office bomb, we have award winners, new movies in production, streaming updates, and more. Let's start with the domestic top 5. For the domestic box office, the numbers will be in a 4-day format to include President's Day, which was on Monday. Opening in first place was Bob Marley One Love with $33.2 million for a total of $51 million. It opened on Valentine's Day, which I believe was on the Wednesday previous, along with Madame Web. Speaking of that movie, it opened to $17.6 million for a total of $25.8 million. Third place was Argyle with $5.5 million for a total of $37.2 million. Fourth place was Migration with $5 million for a total now of $116 million. And in fifth place was The Chosen Season 4, episodes 4 through 6, which opened to $4.1 million for a total of $4.8 million. Paramount looks to have another hit on their hands with Bob Marley One Love. While the critics were mixed to negative on it, audiences seem to be enjoying it, with it getting an A cinema score. If it has a decent hold domestically, it could reach $100 million. As for Madame Web, I think we all knew this was going to happen, and the terrible reviews confirmed it. It's a bad movie, and with its opening weekend, we also saw that no one really cared. Also, word of mouth is bad, with it getting a C+ cinema score, and we know how that turned out for Argyle. It is almost guaranteed that Sony will lose money on this at the box office, and I don't think VOD and Blu-ray sales for this will be strong either. So the question is, how much does Netflix pay for it? That might make the difference in this movie turning a profit at all. Taking a look at the Chinese box office, YOLO stayed in first place with $85.5 million for a total now of $400.8 million. Second place was Pegasus 2 with $79.6 million for a total of $355 million. Third place was Article 20, which moved up from fourth place last weekend. It earned $69.3 million for a total of $206 million. In fourth place was Boonie Bears Time Twist with $51.4 million for a total of $208.3 million. And in fifth place was The Movie Emperor with $1.2 million for a total of $11.8 million. As for the box office overall, Artisan Gateway reports that the current total for China's box office for the year is now at $1.62 billion, which is around 14% behind where it was this time last year. This makes sense as the highs for last year's films for Chinese New Year were higher, but I think with a good amount of releases this year, that 2024 could top 2023 at the end. Taking a look at international numbers, Bob Marley One Love earned $29 million for a worldwide opening total of $80 million. Madame Web earned $25.7 million for a worldwide opening total of $51.5 million. Anyone But You earned $7.8 million for a worldwide total of $189 million. It looks like it will indeed pass $200 million, which is cool to see. Migration earned $7 million for a worldwide total of $254.8 million. Poor Things earned another $5 million for a worldwide total of $92.3 million. This looks to be passing $100 million worldwide, so that will be a big hit for Searchlight and Film 4. Argyle is now at $76.5 million worldwide. Mean Girls is at $101.7 million worldwide. And Wonka is at $605 million worldwide. For news in Hollywood, let's first start with Lionsgate, where Destin Daniel Cretton has signed on to both direct and write the live-action adaptation of Naruto. I'm still not sure how this is going to go well as an adaptation. What's about the jutsus in the show, but like, are we talking the original series and not Shippuden? What arc are they going to adapt? I guess from the start until the Zabuza arc, I guess, right? And you could probably fit that in 2 hours. But, for the movie to work, Cretton is a good pick for this to turn out well. Like, I have a bit of faith in him to, do a good movie, but it's a lot of questions on this one. We'll see. Deadline has the exclusive on these next few casting updates. The big one is we seem to already know what Tom Cruise's first project will be at Warner Brothers. Deadline is reporting that both Warner Brothers and Legendary are in talks with Alejandro G. Inarritu for his next film, which would star Cruise. This would be the director's first English language film in almost a decade, the last one being The Revenant. As for the plot, all we know is that it's an original idea. Personally, I'm hoping that this is a drama film that allows Cruise to show off his acting talent, switch it up a bit from his action films. Laura Harrow has signed on to join the upcoming Lord of War sequel, Lords of War, just adding an S there, starring Nicolas Cage and Bill Skarsgård. Daniel Levy will be joining animal friends from Legendary. Julia Fox will star in the upcoming film Goat from Monkey Paw Productions for Universal. It will be directed by Justin Tipping, and Jordan Peele will be a producer. And Joseph Quinn is in talks to star in the upcoming war movie from A24 that is being co-directed by Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland. Speaking of Alex Garland and A24, Variety is exclusively reporting that his upcoming film Civil War will premiere at South by Southwest on March 14th. G-Kids will be bringing the end of Evangelion to theaters in North America for the first time ever on March 17th and the 20th. In exclusive from Deadline, they are reporting that Amazon MGM Studios will release the movie they bought at Sundance, My Old Ass, in theaters on August 2nd. Note that it will be a limited release on the 2nd. Not sure if they will expand it later in the month. Deadline also broke the news that John Wick spin-off Ballerina is getting delayed by a year. Originally was set to come out this June. It was set to be a summer movie for this year. It will instead come out June 6th, 2025. As for why, well, Deadline reports that Chad Stahelski is helping the director Len Wiseman on filming new action scenes, so the film will be doing additional filming. This makes sense as now Stahelski is in charge creatively for the John Wick franchise. So what might have happened now is he saw the latest cut in the movie. He's like, we need to punch this up, redo some action scenes, so we're pushing it back. And Lionsgate's like, all right, which makes sense. You might not think it, but there's actually a lot of pressure on this movie. Because right now, the John Wick movies have been all great. The Continental show has, as far as I know, had less creative involvement, and seeing based on reviews seems to be okay. But this is going to be an official spin-off movie with cameo appearances by, Keanu Reeves. Like, John Wick will appear in at least, 5-10 minutes of this movie. So it can't be like, okay, well, his movies are great and the Ballerina movie sucks. Like, it needs to be good. So I'm glad they're taking the time to fix it. And to fill the spot, Lionsgate is setting the Crow remake with Bill Skarsgård to now come out June 7th. Universal have found their director for the new Jurassic World sequel, with Gareth Edwards signing on. The studio had to rush to find a new director after David Leitch dropped out, and they are on a very short schedule as they want this movie out in theaters next July. Edwards recently directed the creator for 20th Century Studios and New Regency. I think this is a good pick for the movie. He has experience with big budget movies, and he and his team did crazy impressive work on the creator for $80 million. Still curious how this is going to turn out to, how's this going to end up considering how rushed it seems to be. Warner Brothers have given a new date to Mickey 17, Bong Joon-ho's upcoming film starring Robert Pattinson, with it now coming out January 31st, 2025. Now, that's not great for what was, I think everyone kind of assumed would have some kind of awards push, but Deadline points out two things. One, Warner Brothers is picking the date because it puts it closer to Lunar New Year in Korea, which, okay, guess that kind of makes sense. And the second reason is that the movie will now get to be shown in IMAX. When it was set to come out previously, this upcoming March, it was going to go up against Dune Part 2, Ghostbusters, and Godzilla and Kong. So even if it got access to IMAX or other premium screens, for that matter, it would have only been for a week at most. So now it gets some more dedicated time. It's guaranteed premium screens. As for it getting an awards push, Warner Brothers could still do a limited release in December to have it qualify, and then, open wide at the end of the month of January. Stephen King has called out Warner Brothers on X for not releasing the Salem's Lot movie. Quote, between you and me, Twitter, I've seen the new Salem's Lot and it's quite good. Old school horror filmmaking, slow build, big payoff. Not sure why Warner Brothers is holding it back. Not like it's embarrassing or anything. Who knows? I just write the fucking things. End quote. So yeah, clearly King is not happy, but to be fair, they keep pushing it back. It was originally set to come out toward the end of 2022, then it gets delayed to 2023. Fine. Well, we're now into early 2024, and we have not heard a thing about it. We haven't even heard if it's going to be one of the movies they just destroy for a tax write-off. I do wonder if Warner Brothers will respond at some point and give us an update on what's exactly happening with it. Deadline is exclusively reporting on something that I don't think has been done before. Sam Mendes and Sony are teaming up to do a musical biopic on the Beatles, but it's not just one, but 4 movies. Each movie will be focused on a band member as it goes through their history, with part of the idea being that the big event that happened to the Beatles, you will see each member's point of view on it, right, depending on the movie. Mendes is set to direct all 4 films, and him and Sony are looking to find writers to start writing the scripts for them. As for the release date, the plan right now is that they will all be released throughout 2027. So I take it for production, it's going to be one massive shoot where they will film all the scenes, they have everyone together, and then do a long post-production window to turn them into 4 actual films. The movies also have the blessing and approval of Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, as well as the families of John Lennon and George Harrison. This is definitely an interesting move, but if there's one band that could support this grand idea, it would kind of be the Beatles. Between this and the Horizon films, we are starting to see a small trend of movies and their sequels releasing within a short time frame. Not sure if you count each Beatle movie as a sequel, but the fact is there'll be 4 feature films released in theaters within a year is not something that happens. But for this, it makes sense. The big thing would be the point of view from each member. Everyone knows their history, so there's no point in dragging it out and releasing one a year. In another exclusive from Deadline, Sony has bought the film rights for Cola Wars for between $1 to $1.5 million. The film will focus on the battle between Pepsi and Coca-Cola in the 80s, as Pepsi tried to dethrone Coke as the #1 soda. The screenplay will be written by Jason Sherman and Ben Queen. I think this can work, but to get the general audience interested, they're going to have to get a big name or 2 attached. Deadline is exclusively reporting that Blumhouse and Platinum Dunes are teaming up to make a thriller movie called Drop. It'll star Megan Fahey and is directed by Christopher Landon. As for movies coming out soon, the reviews are out for Dune Part 2, and it is getting near universal praise. It has a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 79 on Metacritic, rating it higher than Dune Part 1. Denis Villeneuve is one of my favorite directors, so I didn't doubt Dune was going to be good. And, personally, I found Dune Part 1 to be great, so if this is even better, can't wait. Tyler Perry is calling for regulations to be put in place for AI while also pausing a massive $800 million expansion to his studio in Atlanta. The Village Theater in Westwood has been bought by a coalition of directors. This includes Jason Reitman, Damien Chazelle, Ryan Coogler, Bradley Cooper, J.J. Abrams, Lulu Wang, and Chloe Zhao, among others. Seriously, there are over 20 directors that came together to buy this. With them now owning the theater, they plan to show a mix of old and new films, and they all have a say in how the theater is run. I'm glad they bought it, and are going to work to keep it going instead of it being shut down and turned into something else. Sadly, we had a few deaths this week. Kenneth Mitchell died at the age of 49 due to complications from ALS. He starred in Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Lower Decks, and Captain Marvel, among other shows and films. Ewan McIntosh has died at the age of 50. While the cause of death was not disclosed, his management company said in a statement that he has not had good health the past 2 years. He was most known for his role in the British version of The Office, aka the original. Kumar Shahani has died at the age of 83. He was a director of films including Gayalatha and was one of the pioneers of India's parallel cinema movement, which was a focus on art house films. Tony Janos has died at the age of 64. He was recently hospitalized due to a spinal cord infection and died of heart failure after surgery. He was an actor that appeared in a few movies, including The Wanderers, Die Hard 2, and The Taking of Beverly Hills. Paul D'Amato died at the age of 76 due to progressive supranuclear palsy. He starred in films including Slapshot, Heaven's Gate, and The Deer Hunter. Matt Sweeney died at the age of 75 due to lung cancer. He was a special effects artist who worked on numerous films, including Apollo 13, Lethal Weapon 2, and The Lost Boys. He also won 3 Technical Achievement Oscars. Pamela Salem died at the age of 80. She starred in a lot of different projects, including films like Never Say Never Again and The Great Train Robbery, as well as TV shows like Doctor Who. And Chris Garther died at the age of 48 due to an unspecified short illness. He appeared in shows including Smallville, Legend of Tomorrow, Eureka, Once Upon a Time, and a few films including Freddy vs. Jason and 40 Days and 40 Nights. May they rest in peace. Thoughts and prayers are with their families, and fuck cancer, and fuck ALS. Now we have a lot of award show winners to talk about as we start to see the end of the award season. At the Producers Guild Awards, Oppenheimer took the top prize of Outstanding Producer of Theatrical Motion Pictures. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse won for Animated Theatrical Picture. For TV, Succession won for Best Producer of Drama Episodic Television. The Bear won for Comedy Episodic Television. And Beef won for Limited or Anthology Series. Also at the awards show, the PGA announced an initiative to get healthcare for full-time producers for films and shows. The PGA is a union that does not have healthcare coverage compared to the SAG union, for example, and it will take some time to set up. Both Legendary and Blumhouse have signed on for this. What this means is that going forward, their budgets for projects will include health insurance contributions for producers. I was surprised to learn that the PGA had no healthcare coverage for its members, so hopefully this builds out sooner rather than later. For the SAG Awards, Oppenheimer took the top prize for Cast in a Motion Picture. Cillian Murphy won Male Actor in a Leading Role. Lily Gladstone won Female Actor in a Leading Role. Robert Downey Jr. won Male Actor in a Supporting Role. And Divine Joy Randolph won Female Actor in a Supporting Role. For TV, the winners were basically the same as the last few award shows, with one change, with that being Pedro Pascal won for Male Actor in a Drama Series for The Last of Us. It was great to see because, look, he was great in the show, and for the most part has not won awards for it due to Succession. The Last of Us as a show also won Outstanding Action Performance by a Stunt Ensemble in a television series, while Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 won it for films. At the Spirit Awards, Past Lives won Best Feature, with the director Celine Song also winning Best Director. Best Lead Performance went to Jeffrey Wright. Best Supporting Performance went to Divine Joy Randolph. Best Breakthrough Performance went to Dominic Sessa for his performance in The Holdovers. Best International Film went to Anatomy of a Fall. Best Screenplay went to Cord Jefferson for American Fiction. And Best First Screenplay went to Sammy Birch for May December. And at the Caesar Awards, Anatomy of a Fall was the big winner. It won Best Film. Justin Triet won for Best Director and for Best Original Screenplay along with Arthur Harari. Sandra Huller won Best Actress for her performance in the film, and Swan Arlod won Best Supporting Actor. As for new trailers, well, we got a few. From MGM and Warner Brothers, we got a new trailer for Challengers starring Zendaya. It is set to come out April 26th. Lionsgate and Roadside Attractions released the first trailer for Boy Kills World, starring Bill Skarsgård. They recently bought the rights to this back in January, and it too will come to theaters on April 26th. And Lionsgate finally released the first trailer for the Borderlands adaptation. This is the latest in video game adaptations and is directed by Eli Roth and stars Kate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Jack Black. It is set to come out on August 9th. Apparently there were a good amount of reshoots last year, so it's likely production on this has not gone well. We'll see what the end result is toward the end of summer. Let's start off VOD Premium with a lawsuit, as Fubo has filed one against Warner Brothers Discovery, Disney, and Fox Corp over their plans to launch a new streaming sports service. Filed in New York, they allege that this violates antitrust laws. Here is part of the statement about the lawsuit from Fubo CEO David Gandler. Quote, by joining together to exclusively reserve the rights to distribute a specialized live sports package, we believe these corporations are erecting insurmountable barriers that will effectively block any new competitors from entering the market. This strategy ensures that consumers desiring a dedicated sports channel lineup are left with no alternative but to subscribe to the defendant's joint venture. End quote. They are requesting that the joint venture to make the new streaming service is blocked from being formed. They are also requesting that if that cannot happen, that restrictions are placed on the joint venture, including economic parity of licensing terms. They also want monetary compensation, but did not say how much. This is not surprising, as while cable companies are probably also pissed off about this move from Disney, Warner Brothers, Discovery, and Fox, For Fubo, it is kind of life and death for them. All of their marketing is based on the fact that they are the streaming service for the sports-centric person. This new joint venture basically kills it. Like, if it takes off as well as the separate ESPN streaming service next year, like if both of these services take off over the next 2 years, unless they pivot hard, there's a good chance Fubo just doesn't exist in the next 5 years. Because, like, what's the point? If you want sports, yeah, we'll have this new service with most of the channels. And if you don't care about that, well, if you wait till next year, you'll get ESPN by itself. And then if you care about live TV, well, then there's Hulu, there's YouTube, there's other options. Now, will this lawsuit go anywhere? Maybe. I think what helps their case is that cable companies will also deal with the consequences of this joint venture, not just Fubo. And you could make the case that this at least does not look good from an antitrust point of view. Whether the companies actually have broken any antitrust laws, I'm not sure. As for Max, it was a very meh quarter as they finished the year with 97.7 million subscribers worldwide. This includes Max and other streaming services like Discovery Plus. This is a problem because they ended 2022 with 96.9 million subscribers worldwide. So after all the ups and downs throughout 2023, they gained overall less than 1 million new customers. That is not good at all. And unlike Netflix and Disney Plus, they didn't really raise their prices, so they can't even say, well, we might not have as many subscribers as the other competition, but we made more off of each one. Now, the company is not sitting still, as we know, with the launch of Max about to happen in Latin America and in some European countries like France later in the year. That should help get them over the 100 million subscribers milestone. And CEO David Zaslav has said that they are working on rolling out the ad-supported tier of Max to 40 more territories throughout 2024. That's another thing that we have to realize is that I think the US is one of the few, if not the only market with the ad tier of Max. Most countries that have Max don't have that ad tier. So that should also help them get a boost of subscribers. Along with the report, the stock did take a hit, dropping 8 to 10% afterwards. And for the multiple streaming services the company owns, it will be shutting down Motor Trend Plus. This was a niche streamer focused on cars, and from now until the end of March, the content from the streaming service will be moved over to Max and Discovery Plus. Afterwards, the service will be shut down. Most Motor Trend Plus subscribers will be moved over to the ad-free tier of Discovery Plus automatically. This isn't surprising at all as the company continues to cut costs. The niche streaming services have to go. For Warner Brothers Discovery, all content and focus should be on growing Max and to a lesser extent, Discovery Plus. As for Max, we got some release date news. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom will be available to watch starting February 27th, and Wonka will be available to watch in March. As for the upcoming Harry Potter show, the company is looking for it to debut on Max sometime in 2026. As for HBO, True Detective Night Country did turn out to be a hit. The finale got 3.2 million views across HBO and Max, which is 57% higher than the season premiere. So yeah, we were thinking there was a chance viewership would increase as the season went on, and it did. Along with that, HBO has said that this is the most watched season of the show, averaging 12.7 million viewers across all episodes. This should also then come as no surprise that HBO has renewed True Detective for a 5th season, with the creator of Night Country, Isa Lopez, coming back for it. Over at Prime Video, they have announced the 4th season of The Boys will premiere on June 13th with the first 3 episodes, followed by weekly releases. Looking forward to it. Also in development at Prime Video is a documentary about tennis star Roger Federer. It's being developed by Asif Kapida and will focus on the last 12 days of Federer's career. Amazon have come out and denied a report by Adweek claiming that the company is planning to shut down Freevee, possibly as soon as April. In a statement to Variety, Amazon said, quote, "There are no changes to Freevee. Amazon Freevee remains an important streaming offering, providing both Prime and non-Prime customers thousands of hit movies, shows, and originals, all for free." End quote. We were just talking about this on the recent episode about how now that Prime Video's default tier is with ads, is there much purpose to Freevee overall? I'm still 50-50 on it if Amazon shuts it down. But if they start to move more Freevee original content over to Prime Video, then yeah, it's done. The Roku channel has released the first trailer for the Spiderwick Chronicles. They bought the series after Disney Plus canceled it before release. The season has 8 episodes, and they will all be available to binge watch starting April 19th. Curious if this is going to do good enough to get a second season, or maybe it's meant to just be a limited release. Not sure. Over at Paramount Plus, they have released a trailer for the final season of Star Trek Discovery, set to premiere on April 4th. The streamer has also renewed the Frasier revival for a second season. The first season premiered last October. At Peacock, Variety is exclusively reporting that Oppenheimer has had the biggest debut ever for a streamer for a pay-one film. The pay-one films, as in the window of licensing, which in this case are Universal's own films, since they now premiere on Peacock before going to Prime Video for a few months. The film beat the previous record holder, which was the Super Mario Bros. Movie, but we don't have actual numbers here, so it's not clear how many subscribers actually watched it. Peacock has released a trailer for a new limited series called The Tattooist of Auschwitz from Sky Studios, which Comcast also owns, keeping it all in the family. And, actually, personally, I would like it if more Sky-produced shows actually make it over to the US on Peacock. I'm not sure why they don't do that more often. Anyway, the limited series comes out on May 2nd. As for the upcoming Suits LA show, Deadline is exclusively reporting that Josh McDermott has signed on to star in it as well. You would know him from starring in the original Walking Dead series. Also, pour one out for Vudu, as NBC Universal will be sunsetting the name and will rebrand the VOD service as Fandango at Home. I kind of forgot NBC Universal bought Vudu from Walmart a while back. If you have a digital library with Vudu, don't worry, you're not losing it. There's no changes. It's just a rebranding, and that seems to be it. And it's even going to keep apparently the same shades of blue. Just new logo, new name, that's it. And the change will start to roll out over the next few weeks. In a follow-up from rumors from the last few weeks, Walmart has confirmed that they will be buying Vizio for $2.3 billion. It will need to be approved by the government, but Vizio's board of directors, as well as the shareholders, who have the majority of voting shares, have approved the deal. I think the government will okay this one and should be closed in a few months. At Hulu, Eva Longoria has signed on to join the 4th season of Only Murders in the Building in a recurring role. The streamer has also ordered a new comedy series called Chad Powers. The show will be based on a character created by retired NFL quarterback Eli Manning for his show at ESPN+. The show comes from Glenn Powell and Michael Walden, with Powell also starring in the show as well. Eli Manning and his brother Peyton Manning will executive produce. And it looks like Disney is shutting down their internal home entertainment division. While no layoffs have been announced, what was announced is that Disney has reached a deal with Sony to handle their physical media. Sony will now be in charge of manufacturing, packaging, as well as marketing both new titles as well as catalog titles. As for now, this will be for the US and Canada market. As for the titles, it will be handled with a licensing model, with Disney licensing out titles to Sony, who will then make the physical copies and sell them. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this because when I used to buy physical copies, years ago, I thought Sony's packaging was the worst for Blu-rays. The cases, the slip covers, just, ugh. As for the licensing model, I do hope one benefit from this would be if Sony wants to start making new copies of older titles, that Disney would be more open to saying yes, since they're not fronting the cost for it. Like, for example, I would buy a 4K remaster of Fight Club. Hopefully no one on the Disney side loses their jobs, and if anything are just reassigned to a new team. Variety is exclusively reporting that Masters of the Air opened to the most viewers for an Apple TV Plus show in its opening weekend for a first season. Apple is smart to say that the last part to Variety, because while this means the show got the biggest debut for a new show, it did not open bigger than, say, season 2 or 3 of Ted Lasso, for example. Still, this was good, but I think expected news for Apple TV Plus. Look, they're spending a good amount of money on what basically is a spiritual successor to the Pacific and Bandit Brothers, and with good reviews. I would think the expectation was that at the very least, it opened strong, which it does seem to be the case. Canal Plus continues to slowly own more and more of other streaming services around the world. They have increased their stake in Viu from 26.1% to 30%. Viu is a streamer based in Hong Kong, but is also available elsewhere, including Singapore, South Africa, and in countries in the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Kuwait, among others. Canal Plus can further increase their ownership of Viu up to 50% down the road if they want to. Now let's talk about Warner Brothers Discovery as they had their quarterly earnings report. I know we just mentioned them earlier about the Max numbers. On the debt the company has, they made some good progress, paying off $1.2 billion in Q4, making it a total of $5.4 billion paid off throughout 2024. They are now down to $42 billion that needs to be paid off compared to the $48 billion they had at the start of the year. On the debt the company has, they made some good progress, paying off $1.2 billion in Q3. They are now at $42 billion that needs to be paid off compared to the $48 billion they had at the start of 2023. In the UK, a regulatory body Ofcom announced that streaming services will not be fully regulated until 2026. This comes as last year the media bill was passed. Ofcom is now beginning to work on regulations that streamers, including American ones, will have to follow. Over the next year, they will be working on a draft of regulations as well as a write-up, a report on the state of the market. On top of this, streamers will have 1 year to work to be compliant with the new regulations. So basically 2024 is come up with the regulations. 2025 is when streamers will have to work on being compliant. And in 2026 is when you need to be fully compliant. The BBC have announced a slew of new dramas that will be coming soon. Some noticeable ones include an adaptation of the play Dear England, which is focused on the national team's football manager, Gareth Southgate, starring Joseph Fiennes, which will also be produced by Left Bank Pictures. They produced The Crown, for reference. The Ministry of Time, which will come from A24, and The Listeners, which will star Rebecca Hall. We have the Nielsen Top 10 for the week of January 22nd to the 28th, and in first place overall is Griselda with 1.59 billion minutes watched. Bluey came in second place with 1.25 billion minutes watched, and Grey's Anatomy came in third with 999 million minutes watched. On the Streaming Originals Top 10, noticeably The Brothers' Son came in 7th place with 410 million minutes watched, and Ted came in 9th place with 267 million minutes watched. And we finish up with Netflix, where they have a few things going on. First, they will not be moving forward with adapting the Kane Chronicles series into films. This is a series of books written by Rick Riordan, who also wrote Percy Jackson and The Olympians. Another company or studio can step in to make it, but that's if they're interested. In exclusive from Deadline, we got a casting update for Kinda Pregnant, which already stars Amy Schumer, with Jillian Bell, Will Forte, Brian Howie, and Damon Wayans Jr. signing on to join the film. The La Casa de Papel spin-off, or slash prequel, I guess, Berlin, has been renewed for a second season, with filming set to begin in 2025. This isn't a surprise as we have gone over the numbers since its premiere, and in the non-English top 10 chart, Berlin has been doing some great numbers. Netflix released a trailer for the upcoming film shortly. It is directed by John Ridley and stars Regina King, Lance Reddick, Lucas Hedges, and Terrence Howard. It comes out March 22nd. Reviews have come out for the movie Spaceman, starring Adam Sandler, and it seems to be mixed, with it at 51% on Rotten Tomatoes. I was hoping for a bit better, since it seems to be him playing a more serious role, which is always great to see. And Avatar: The Last Airbender is getting okay reviews, with it at 61% on Rotten Tomatoes, so while it's no One Piece, it's also not a train wreck either, which is good. And finally, we have the Netflix Top 10 for the week of February 12th to the 18th. For English TV, One Day was in first place with 9.9 million views. The sixth season of Love is Blind came in second place with 6.3 million views, and Griselda came in third with 5.8 million views. For English films, Players came in first place with 16.3 million views. Lover, Stalker, Killer came in second place with 14.4 million views, and in third place was Despicable Me 3 with 10.6 million views. And that's it for this episode of Box Office Receipts. If you want to follow me on X, Threads, or Facebook, links to those are in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.